All right, Super Wildcard Weekend is officially over, and it was a wild one indeed that featured some upsets and surprising twists and turns all along the way, with one of the greatest centers to ever play the game announcing his retirement. So let's take a look at all these games and how they panned out as we then look ahead to the upcoming divisional round this weekend. But first, how about those? All right, to kick off the 2024 playoffs, the Texans and Browns squared off in the historically incompetent bowl as two teams that have never won a Super Bowl and have some demons they hope to exercise. Speaking of exercise, Kareem Hunt was running around making plays early, scoring the first touchdown of the game, with Houston responding on the following drive as C.J. Stroud threw a screen to Nico Collins up the left side for a score. And after the game started out with 3 consecutive punts, it looked like it was going to turn into a shootout because the Browns quickly marched down the field on their next possession, and the aforementioned Kareem Hunt caught this little shovel pass from Flacco and found the end zone, making it 14-10 Browns. However, this would be the last points Cleveland would score all game, and on the very first play of the Texans' next drive, tight end Brevin Jordan caught a pretty routine ball at the right sideline, making a man miss, and then raced all the way to the end zone for a 76-yard touchdown. He wasn't the only tight end to have a day, though, as Stroud connected with Dalton Schultz for a 37-yard touchdown to put the Texans up 24-14 at halftime. And this is where things got ugly. On the Browns' first drive of the second half, old geriatric Joe dropped back to pass but was hit as he let it go, and the ball sailed right into the arms of former Chiefs legend, take that as you will, Steven Nelson, who took it 82 yards to the house. But no worries, shake it off and regroup, right? Well, maybe a support group, because old geez Louise, I can't find my keys Joe dropped back to pass on 4th and 2 and delivered a perfect ball right to Texans linebacker Christian Harris, who returned it for a 36-yard pick six to put the Texans up 38-14. After a 19-yard touchdown run by Devin Singletary officially put things out of reach, C.J. Stroud exited the game to a cascade of MVP chants as he became the youngest quarterback in NFL history to win a playoff game, passing up Michael got that dog in him Vic, and doing so with a dominant performance against one of the top defenses in the league. Stroud finished with a near perfect passer rating of 157.2, going 16 of 21 for 274 yards and 3 touchdowns. And now we leave the great state of Texas to go to a much colder place, a place that is, as the kids would say, cold as balls, and that place is Kansas City, where the Chiefs took on the Dolphins in the 4th coldest game in NFL history, with the temp at -4 degrees at kickoff. That is freaking freezing. The weather didn't stop the Chiefs from slinging the football, though, throwing it on their first 3 plays, and after a couple of nice Pacheco runs, Mahomes found Rashee Rice on a crosser who waltzed into the end zone for 6. Then, after Tua turned the ball over, sailed one right into the arms of Mike Edwards, Harrison Butker connected on his first of 4 field goals on the day to put the Chiefs up 10-zip. Miami did respond, though, as Tyreek made an incredible play adjusting to an underthrown ball by noodle arm Tua and made a great move to get into the end zone. And I hope they savored those points a whole lot, because those are the last they would get for the rest of the night. The defense completely shut down Tua and the Dolphins, not allowing them to find any kind of rhythm, holding them to just 1 for 12 on 3rd downs. Then, after Butker connected on a couple more field goals and Pacheco scored off a clever play design here in the 4th quarter, that was pretty much all she wrote as the Chiefs sent the Dolphins back to the warm weather and possibly even to Cancun as they advanced on to the divisional round after winning very convincingly 26-7. The Sunday slate started with the 7.5-point underdog Packers taking on the Cowboys in Dallas, and this may have been the most and least shocking game of the weekend all in one. One reason why it was shocking is because the 7 seed beat the 2 seed, but they didn't just beat them, they whooped them. The Packers scored first after an Aaron Jones touchdown, capped off a 12-play drive, and after Jair Alexander snagged this beautiful interception, Aaron Jones found the end zone again, giving Green Bay an early 14-0 lead. The Cowboys had to punt on their next drive, and Jordan Love made them pay, finding Dontavian Wicks in the end zone on a perfect 20-yard throw. Dak was then getting antsy after not turning the ball over for a while, so he decided to throw right to Packers safety Darnell Savage over the middle, who took it 64 yards to the crib to make it 27-0 Packers. Dallas was able to score before the half to make it 27-7, and after a field goal to start the 3rd quarter, it looked like maybe, possibly, perhaps they could come back. But no, they're the Cowboys and have been choking playoff games away like this for the last 25 or so years. Jordan Love found a wide open Romeo Doubs for 46 yards, then Aaron Jones 2 plays later found the end zone for the 3rd time time, making it 34-10 Packers. Tony Pollard scored a touchdown just for fun, and the Green Bay barrage continued with a 38-yard strike to Luke Musgrave, followed by a 3-yard hit to Romeo Doubs, making it 48-16 Packers in the fourth quarter. The Cowboys did score a couple touchdowns in garbage time for what it's worth to make the final score not look as disgusting, but make no mistake, they got demolished. Another embarrassing playoff loss for the Cowboys, who are now the first team in NFL history to reach 12 regular season wins 3 years in a row and not make it to a conference championship game. That means America's team has still basically done nothing since I was born. Meanwhile, for Green Bay, Jordan Love looked incredible in his playoff debut, going 16 for 26 with 272 yards and 3 scores, looking like the next great Packers QB. At least it's potentially looking to shape out that way. And before we go any further, I got to shout out a couple ways you guys can support the channel. It's either by snagging some merch from the HBTC online store. You can see a bunch of new designs up here, or maybe even grab a bag of the HBTC blend coffee from Benchwarmer Brew to help start your day off with a victorious buzz. And this helps me continue to pay the bills and keep editor Troy around to edit even more videos like this that gets demonetized when you use broadcast footage, but it's worth it for you guys. And this also helps Troy continue to deal with the fact that his Vikings didn't make it to the playoffs. Sorry, Troy. All right, next up for the Sunday nightcap, the Rams and Matthew Stafford headed into Detroit, where he played for 12 seasons, to take on Jared Goff and the Lions, who played for the Rams for 5 seasons before the two QBs were traded for each other back in 2021. And the revenge game did not disappoint, as the Lions struck first with a David Montgomery touchdown to put a bow on a 10-play drive. The Rams answered with a field goal, and after Jahmyr Gibbs shot into the end zone to make it 14-3, it looked like the Lions were in complete control. However, Stafford hit Puka down the left sideline, who took it 50 yards for the score. And Puka had a ridiculous game, going off with 9 grabs for 181 yards and a touchdown, setting a new record for the most receiving yards in a playoff game by a rookie. Shortly after that, though, Goff found Sam Laporta in the back of the end zone, and again, the Rams answered as Stafford fired a laser to Tutu Atwell, who snagged it and flipped into the end zone, making it a 21-17 game at the half. And after 38 combined points were scored in the first half, there was only 13 in the second, as both defenses stepped up big time and made stops. Jack Fox then drilled a 54-yard field goal to extend the lead for Detroit, 24-17, and while the Rams were able to move the ball with ease on their next 2 possessions, they had to settle for field goals each time, which was ultimately the kill shot for them, as the Lions were able to force them to punt with 4 minutes left in the game. Goff then came through in the clutch, converting a couple of massive first downs, allowing them to drain the clock and officially celebrate their first playoff win in 32 years. Yes, you heard that right, 32 years. I am 32 years old, so was literally not born the last time the Lions won a playoff game. Both quarterbacks put up a hell of a fight, though, with Stafford going 25 of 36 for 367 yards and 2 scores, while Goff went an efficient 22 of 27 for 277 yards and 1 touchdown. Then moving on to the Monday game, starting with the Bills and Steelers, whose game was initially scheduled for Sunday afternoon, but then an ungodly amount of snow buried the entire city of Buffalo, forcing them to push the game back a day as fans helped shovel the stadium the next. And this was just one of those games where the Steelers came in without TJ Watt, and you knew it would be a long shot basically for the Steelers to win this game, especially considering they are just 1-10 without TJ Watt since he was drafted in 2017. And that made it 1-11 without TJ Watt, because the Bills dominated in this game. Josh Allen was special, racking up 4 total touchdowns with 3 through the air and a 52-yard run in the second quarter, an electric play, which was actually the longest postseason QB scramble for a score since Colin Kaepernick ran a 56-yarder back in the 2013 divisional round. This helped make it a quick 21-0, and even though the Steelers clawed back and made it a 24-17 game, it never really felt like they had a chance. Then once Khalil Shakir proceeded to juke out Pittsburgh's entire 53-man roster and coaching staff for another score, that was pretty much the final stamp on this one, as the Bills walked away with a 31-17 victory over the Steelers. And finally, the last game of the wild card round, the struggling Eagles, who were free-falling for the last 2 months of the season, losing almost every one of their final 7 games, they strolled into Tampa Bay to take on Baker Mayfield and a scrappy 9-8 Buccaneers team. And I'm not gonna lie, This one was ugly, but as a Chiefs fan, this one was beautiful. Baker was out there slinging it like Pablo Sanchez from backyard football, and then the Eagles couldn't tackle to save their miserable lives, let alone their miserable, depressing season, as David Moore made everyone miss on this 44-yard touchdown. And after a few field goals from both teams, the score sat at 16-3 until Jalen Hurts found a wide open Dallas Goedert for 6. And this is how I knew God hates the Eagles. On the point after attempt, the Bucs jumped off sides, and Prick Sirianni accepted the penalty so they could go for 2 and do their little tush push from the 1-yard line. However, Vita Vea and 1,000 Angels stonewalled Jalen Hurts, which was also maybe helped by a face mask that wasn't called, and the try was unsuccessful. But don't worry, Jalen Hurts would have another chance to get in that same end zone later after they flipped fields and pressure forced him out of the pocket, scrambling back into the end zone where he panicked and committed intentional grounding. That obviously resulted in a safety to put the Bucs up 18-9. And remember when I said the Eagles couldn't tackle? Baker hit rookie Trey Palmer for what should have been like a 6-yard gain, but instead he shed a defender and was off to the races for a 56-yard touchdown. And with a little under 6 minutes to go in the fourth, Baker put a fork in him, lofting up a touchdown for Chris Godwin to make it 32-9, Bucs with the W. This is worth mentioning though, as the game was coming to an end, center Jason Kelce was emotionally distraught on the sidelines, even opting to stand on the sidelines the last few plays of the game while the rest of his offense was out there, and it appeared almost as if he was taking it all in one final time. And then as he was walking to the locker room, he was also emotional. And that seems to be exactly what was going on, because today it was announced that Jason Kelce let his teammates know in the locker room that he was hanging up the cleats after 13 seasons with the same team, which is honestly pretty sad that his last game ended the way it did. Nick Sirianni and company really let him down. But as someone who has nothing but respect for the Kelce family, congrats to Jason for an absolutely incredible career. He will definitely find himself in the Hall of Fame sooner, hopefully, rather than later. And with that, wildcard weekend is officially over, with just 8 teams remaining for the divisional round. So that looks like this. On Saturday, the Texans will travel to Baltimore to take on the Ravens at 3:30. These graphics are in Eastern time, but I'm going in Central because that's where I live. Then the Packers and 49ers square off in San Fran for the night game at 7:15. Then on Sunday, the Bucs are in Detroit duking it out with the Lions at 2 p.m. and the Chiefs will be in Buffalo at 5:30 to finish things out. I'm definitely excited about pretty much every one of these games. And as a Chiefs fan, I love the idea of Mahomes and company traveling away for the first time in the playoffs to face Buffalo, a team they are very familiar playing against in the postseason. So the question is, can Mahomes make it 3-0 against Allen in the playoffs, or will Allen and company be able to get the upper hand by maybe leaving less than 13 seconds on the clock this time? Let me know either way in the comments down below on this game and every other divisional matchup and how you think it'll play out. Then also let me know the biggest surprises from the wild card round. Is it the Packers blowing out the Cowboys, the Eagles losing, Kelce retiring? Let me know in the comments down below. And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?